Over the years, humankind has faced various kinds of pandemic and now it has re-emerged to threaten the world. The virus known as COVID-19 has taken a lot of lives for the past 7 months. When it was first detected from China in November 2019, the virus has been spreading all over the globe and we have yet to find the vaccine. The world has been warned and is urged to take safety precautions such as wearing a mask and sanitizing their hands daily. Malaysia was hit by the virus back on the 24th of January 2020. Reported cases remained low until local clusters started to emerge and numbers were starting to increase. Because of the pandemic, a number of industries have taken a fall, one of them being the airlines industry. Airlines have been put on hold for the last 3 months here in Malaysia. The birds have not soared the sky as there has been a plague outbreak. Two of the leading airlines in Malaysia, which are Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia, are cutting corners as they are not allowed to fly anytime soon. It was reported that airports in Malaysia have registered a decline of 27.6% with 18.4 million passenger movements and over $3 billion lost in revenue. The issue here is that not only does it affect the travelers who are unable to travel, but it also affects the crew and staff. Founded in 1947, Malaysia Airlines has been the preferred company to fly with among Malaysians. However, after heavy losses,
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Were shot down over eastern Ukraine 5 years ago. All 298 people on board Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 killed when the flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur was hit by a missile.
Malaysia Airlines has taken a huge hit, and with the current pandemic, it seems that the airline company is hanging by a thread. As of July 2020, a total of over 165,000 MAS flights have been cancelled due to the COVID-19 affecting more than 4 million passengers. As for AirAsia, it was reported that the company was facing a 15% revenue drop due to the pandemic. That is equivalent to a whopping 800 million ringgit. AirAsia, who is known as the world's best low-cost airline company, is now facing a huge downturn. Air travel plays a crucial role in global trade, so in order to make it safe to travel, new procedures have been implemented for the resumed flights in order to ensure the passengers' well-being, as well as the safety and hygiene of the air crew.
For now, since most of the flights we don't have any more passengers, we concentrate more on cargo, and even the passenger seats also, we can put some cargo there, but it has to be secured. There's some procedures on that. Let's say cargo need to be loaded in the cabin, so we need at least 4 crew to operate that flight instead of 9. Because most of the cargo will be stored in the cabin in front of the aircraft. Those are kind of the procedures that we have to follow. The closing of the doors, the arming of the doors, all the same. Before checking in, the ground staff will inform you how many bags you can bring in, what are the safety procedures, and they will check your temperature. So upon boarding, they will check the second round of the temperature, and most of the arrival destination, they don't have to check the temperature anymore. And then domestic flight, there's no need for you to quarantine yourself, but you just quarantine yourself at home for 14 days, that's all.
In my company, there were a few changes. The coming in and going out had to be changed. We had to wear masks, and when we went into the airport, our temperature was checked. We had to sanitize the plane before we went inside. So the aircraft cabin cleaners sanitized the interior of the aircraft, and then after that we used to go in.
Procedures meaning that there will be new work processes as well as the additional workflow that would or would not affect the employees in a psychological way.
It doesn't affect me that much. It's just that because I've been doing this, sanitizing myself, washing my hands in the aircraft regularly since last time. So it's just that the difference is you just have to wear the mask and also the gloves during service.
Well, it didn't affect us that much psychologically because we still have to come and do the work on the aircraft, and we were not really stressed. But of course, because of the new things that came into being, we knew that we were safe if we followed the procedures.
Even though most of the flights have not yet resumed, the maintenance for the flights are still ongoing. Reportedly, in early 2020, the aircraft maintenance costs for flights were predicted to rise. With the current situation, this matter will definitely be a concern. However, luckily for Malaysia Airlines, the maintenance cost is currently unaffected for the time being.
AIN reporters tell us that maintenance costs are rising. This is for a number of reasons, and foremost amongst those is the worsening shortage of skilled workers.
The cost to maintain aircraft keeps climbing, and unfortunately, the number of maintenance technicians has dropped.
Not really, because ours is a small station and then it doesn't affect that much. Maintenance cost was the same.
Cancellations and flight bans leading to less aeronautical revenue coming in. Traffic demands play a major role in airlines' profitability. This matter has taken a huge toll on AirAsia, especially their sister company AirAsia ex-Malaysia. None of the AirAsia ex-Malaysia flights has started to fly again, as they are catered mainly for international flights. This caused a major change to airline companies, such as restructuring their organization that forced AirAsia ex-Malaysia to retrench their employees back in June.
I think around 40% of them being retrenched, including pilots and also cabin crew. Fortunately for now, I still survive, but AirAsia has a lot of other businesses. So when they get retrenched, yes, they get compensated, but in the same time, they open a new ventures like other types of business. So they call back all these retrenched pilots and cabin crew to go for interview, and most of them they get their jobs again, but maybe not the same as pilots and cabin crew, but something for them to fall onto to survive.
Less aeronautical revenue meaning there will be a major decline in wages.
During retrenchment, they will tell them if things are better, everything is improving, and then they will call back all these people instead of hiring new pilots and also cabin crew.
As of now, domestic flights in Malaysia have resumed. Meanwhile, for international flights, the exact date on resuming the flight is still uncertain.
Okay, domestic, mostly the whole of Malaysia is safe to travel. Bangkok, Japan, I think for now that's all, because Korea, they were doing well and then suddenly the second wave came. So I think for now, if they want to open the borders again, I think Bangkok and Japan. Once other country open their borders and once Malaysia open our borders, so we should start flying soon.
It is undeniable that the public is now more anxious about getting on a plane. The amount of people flying nowadays are at a low 90%. What are the possibilities of catching the virus on a plane? Do the procedures help fend off the virus?
I would say that the way the aircraft was designed in the first place is that it has a unidirectional airflow. We call it a laminar airflow, meaning that the air only flows in one direction and not multiple directions. That alone will prevent the carrying of that contaminated air particles if someone were to have COVID on board in all directions. So the likelihood of spreading to a lot of passengers is actually very low.
Talking about safety measures, you are less likely to catch the virus in an airplane. HEPA filters help filter out 99.97% of particulates of the size of COVID-19. The airflow in the plane is also said to minimize the risk of catching the virus.
Secondly, we use a high efficiency particulate air filter. We call it a HEPA filter on board as well. The same filter is being used in other hospitals, whereby it filters out viruses, airborne particles that are in certain sizes. So it does effectively filter out COVID-19 to a certain extent, and it allows for the circulation of air to be clean in that sense.
It is safe to assume that people won't be traveling anytime soon. Although the number of people flying on board now is low, those who are planning to go back to their homeland should consider the risk and act accordingly.
I would say that if you do not have to take a plane, or if you do not have to board a plane to get to somewhere, try to avoid going on plane rides or even boarding a flight because of the risk. If you do have to, then make sure that you maintain personal hygiene, keep your distance. I think air flights have positioned seats in such a way whereby you are distanced with a certain amount of meters apart or something.
The pandemic has undoubtedly changed the airline industry by a mile. They are trying their best to keep their birds soar whilst keeping them on the ground. It certainly will be difficult for the industry to cope in the coming months, as we don't know how much longer the pandemic will last. Although domestic flights are available, it is still a challenge, as it is stated that it may take 3 years for the airline industry to fully recover back to its normal state. It seems that the airline industry is embracing and accepting the new norm, but the question is, are we fully ready to accept things as they are now?